Welcome to this video presentation. My name is Paul Brett. I'm a Senior Software Support Analyst supporting HCL Link. Today's topic is using HCL Link, the Restart Reject functionality to identify bad data. I'm going to start my demonstration at the HCL Link design server. As you can see, I need to log in. I have one project called Project 1. Within this project I have a file called input.txt. I've already imported this. The raw version of it is here. I shall open it in a notepad and give you a quick preview. Basically it's a bunch of comma separated values on lines to represent some data. So we have what looks like a name, we have an age, we have a department, and we have an employment start date, for example. Now, there are some mistakes in this file, and that is the reason that we are going to be discussing the restart reject functionality, but we'll come back to that later. First thing to show you is on the schema side of things, we have a schema called input and another schema called output. We have a third schema called rejected, which we will come to later. And in the maps, we have one map called example. In example, we are loading in the input card, the file, and reading it through our structure input. On the output side, we are using the output schema, and we are writing out to a file again. At the row level, we are dropping to a functional map called f_each row, and in f_each row, we are just mapping the rows across in our one-to-one fashion. Okay, so let's build and run this map and show what happens. So we click the build button. The map is built successfully. We click the run button, and as you can see from the red mark here, the run has actually failed. Down here we have an error listed out in full: one or more inputs was invalid. Okay, so we could right click this input and go through the full trace, and using the content of this trace and the content of the input file we could work out what is wrong. For example, we can come down, and we see here that 6/17/1997 failed presentation test. Okay, this is in a UK date format, and there isn't a 17th month, so this is why this has failed. But it could be quite hard to spot this within a trace, and there are further errors further down. So, how can we use the reject restart functionality? We need to go back, let's close these maps for the moment. We need to go back and make a slight change to the schema. So what we need to do next is open the schema input, and then we right click on the file object and choose structure. And for the row child, we want to right click and choose restart. So this turns the restart attribute on for the row object. Let's save our changes and open our map and see what difference that has made to execution. We hit the build, we hit the run, and as you can see now our map has completed, this time with warnings. And if we look at our output data, we have 3 records arrive. So 2 of those records are not correct. Let's imagine our input had thousands and thousands of rows, let's say 3,000 rows, and then this output contained 2,997 rows. It would be quite annoying to try and find those 3 rows within the 3,000 that were incorrect. So this is where the reject functionality comes in. So let's do that next. To use the reject functionality, I'm going to create another card. From the structure menu, create target. I'm going to call this card out2. Using the file adapter, I'm going to write to a file called rejected.txt, and I am going to call the rejected schema and choose the object file. Okay, so out2, let's add out1 to the canvas. What I want to bring into the out2 structure is all the rejected rows. So I'll drag the row object across to my repeating text items in my rejected structure, and I wrap that in a reject function. As this is a series object, I'm going to drop to a functional map to deal with this. So let's do that now. F underscore rejected. When I press enter, it asks if I want to create that. I do. I drag input to output, save, close that. And now we build and run our map. The map still fails with a warning, but in the output now we have our 3 good records, and in the rejected card 2, we have our 2 bad records. Now the map is finishing with a warning here. That may not be ideal because when you do eventually fix the input and run the whole lot again, you don't want the output adding to what you've already written. So ideally we want this warning to be a failure if there are rejected records. So we can do that. We can go into the settings, we can go into the warnings section and activate customized warnings. When input type contains errors pops up, I want that to be a fail. And when we get input valid but unknown data found, I want that to be a fail as well. So let's click OK. Let's click Save, and then build the map one more time, and then finally run. So we've got input type contains errors. Looking at the output card, we have the 2 rejected records. The next step is to fix the rejected records and then run the map again and see what happens. So let's close that. Let's edit our input file. Let's change the data so that it's actually correct. It's the 17th of June. Juliet Stevenson needs a comma in there, and she's not 141 years old, she's only 41 years old. So let's save that version of the file, bring it into our project, OK, and then back at our map we will save, we will build, and we will run. Run complete. This time the map has completed utterly successful, and the reject card has no data records at all. So there we go. There is an overview of using the restart attribute and the reject function to help find bad input data.